Coach, nice to have pretty much a full squad out there.
Yeah, the band's back together, huh? So good for Brandon to get his deal done. Nice to have him back. Good player for us from no matter how long. So Charlie looked better today, another day on the ice. So pretty much everyone's getting back to health. Birdie's in a normal color jersey, Nordy. So obviously we have a couple defensemen that are still a bit away, but for the rest of the group that's here, a couple guys got hurt. Anderson and Senishin stayed off today, some minor bumps and bruises. See how that affects them. They won't play tomorrow for sure, but maybe get them back in the mix as we go.
Sad to see DeBrusque's mullet is now gone.
You know what? I didn't even notice with his helmet on. To be honest with you. I should have. I mean, those are rare nowadays. So, why? Why is it gone? Did anybody ask him?
I don't think Mom approved, so I'm not sure.
Really?
He said he didn't like it. He saw it on Instagram.
Didn't like his own.
He didn't like it, no.
It's too stringy looking.
Yeah.
Well, he's still gonna grow it out, though, he said. He wants
Yeah.
to clean it up, but he's
Yeah,
gonna
but it
Yeah.
won't go to that one. To the same way.
Well, it's not a mullet. It's not.
No, not at all.
What do you call it?
Bruce-
It's just a normal hairdo.
Last year at this time, we're asking a lot of questions about the third line center spot there. You got a good definition up the middle there now, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that do for you as a coach, and then also for the players too, to just kind of have that mentality that's there?
Well, I think it's, we had a couple, we were looking for a right wing on the, so that was the debate. I just think it's important personally to be strong down the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
Whether Charlie moves to the right wing, because Lindholm can play and Corrali can move up, still, but to have 4 centermen that you can rely on to trust that can play a 200-foot game. As a coach, you never worry about what line's going out in the ice matchup, because it's generally speaking, the matchup is the D pair and the centerman down low. The wingers obviously matter, but they're less of a factor usually, so at least that's the way I think of it when I think matchup. So to have Charlie in there now, and our intention is to keep him there unless the team would be better served with him up on the wing, but right now we like the way we played last year and hopefully we'll continue that this year. So it just puts you a lot more comfortable in terms of defending.
On the back end, you pretty much have all the spots filled, at least it looks like it that way. And a couple of guys knocking at the door, though. I was thinking of like goes on, got a taste here last year. How do you make sure the attitude stays strong and he's still, looking to push for a spot when it might not be there?
Well, we talked to those young guys about that. I think last year, you hope they paid attention and realized that we used a lot of different players that, I don't know if anybody thought Connor Clifton would be the guy in the Stanley Cup final. So I think that should be enough of a motivating factor to know that it might not be there on October 3rd, but certainly the opportunity to, I think when you go down there, your job, I spent a lot of time down there, to be the first call. It should be your goal once you're down there. Now, without some bigger guys, if we'll see how Miller goes through his medical clearance coming up here, and Johnny Moore has some size and defend. There is an opportunity if you look at Grizz with Camphor and Clifton. If you wanted a bigger body, that's where Lozon would have to say, you know what, maybe that's me. Playing on my offside, if Grizz moves over, maybe I could give him value there on the penalty kill. So in games, that's where he has to stand out, I think, in his own mind. Play to your strengths, be a big body, be hard to play against, and maybe that pushes you up the ladder ahead of the Zaboros or back nine, and use them because their left shots are young like him. So I think those are things he has to take away every day when he leaves here and then gets back on the ice, that he can push his way in with that type of play. And hopefully the other guys recognize that, how they fit in, et cetera, and play to their strengths. And that's usually what the young guys have to do, and the help of us, the help of the Providence coaches, that now Kells can help them process that.
Along those same lines, for guys like Zboril, Senishin, where they are now, third-year pro, I'd imagine this season, this camp, this whole thing is very important to them, and what's going to happen to them in their careers.
Well, yeah, those guys that are in the last year, their entry deals, and those are 2, and Lozon's 1, and there could, we forget anybody else. Like, it is important. You're playing for, your spot here in Boston for depth. Fitzy, I guess, would be there maybe for your spot in Boston, but also for your livelihood. You want to earn that next contract. Some guys it takes a little bit longer. So, and you should be farther down the line than say a Steen coming in here now. That those guys, it's a little bit new to them. They've been there and done that. So you would expect those guys to push through. I'd put Anders in that category, but he's a little different animal with the injuries, and he has spent some time here but knocking at the door. So all of those guys, that's just the circle of life, so to speak. We've got guys turning pro every year, and you got to make room for them. So it's kind of time to step up and separate. I'd say separate yourself more than stepping up, because this is a tough lineup to crack this year. But again, you should be that first call up if you're in that situation. That should be your goal.
Zach's just coming aboard here. You saw a little bit of him at the rookie camp, a few days here now. Impress you? Or?
Well, he's got good hockey instincts. He breaks up plays out there using his head and his stick. So yeah, in that regard, he's a small guy that competes hard. He's not afraid to go into traps, not afraid to get hit. For him, it's a matter of, like a lot of young guys, practice habits. I think he's been, we've got to get him started sooner on time. And then the strength part. Obviously, if you want to play against men, play a lot of minutes, you're going to have to be strong on your feet. And so the fitness part we'll address with him as well. Typical stuff to me of, for the first year guys is professional habits, and that's, off ice in the gym, make sure you're as strong as you can be, and then using your practice, don't, value that part. And he has, it's just that sometimes he's a little bit slow starting, and we went through that with Charlie McAvoy, with Brendan Carlo, Jake DeBrusk, a lot of them. I think it's perfectly normal. We try to keep reminding them that when you're out there for 30, once the season starts, 35 minutes, you don't want to lose half.
You've got 2D here who are 5'9". I can imagine when you started at Providence, if a 5'9" defenseman had shown up, you would have said, it's a circus act, right?
Well, we probably would have sent them down the road to Brown University or Providence, right? You're in the wrong building, but that's the new NHL, correct? I mean, it was debated here a number of years ago, can you survive with 2 small guys in the lineup? And imagine, if you're paying attention to the final, now you add Cliffy to that with Krug and Grizz, can you survive with 3? We didn't win, so you might answer your question, but we're knocking at the door with 3 smaller guys, so I think it's a little bit about the compete, durability of these younger guys. What do they bring to the table on the ice? Do you have enough guys around them to make up, the force or bigger men? Like St. Louis, they had a lot of big guys, so look at both sides.
Bruce, you look at just the job Donnie's done, and then he comes into the summer having to sign Brandon and Charlie, and everyone's, how is he going to fit this under the cap? Just your response to him being able to do that.
Well, as a coach, you want all your assets, right? You don't want to have to move assets to sign another one if possible. So I think he did a great job. I don't get too involved in the numbers of that. At the end of the day, who's here, we coach him up, but clearly we were able to keep this team together for the most part. We lost, Johansson and Knoll, but as part of our group, but I think that's minimal in terms of, not that people, I'm not being disrespectful, but to only lose 2 bodies is a pretty good thing, no matter how far you go or not go. So good for him. Everyone seems happy. I think that's the important part too. Guys come in here, they feel that they've earned their contract or got a fair deal or a real good deal, however they term it. But at the end of the day, that's the other thing. You want guys who are here in a good place, and I think we all are.
This Solaric, it could be kind of a make or break camp for him with the organization. Have you noticed any improvement there as far as skating? I know he worked.
Well, I think he's always been a good, strong skater. Gets around well. Maybe he's not his first step, like a lot of the bigger guys, is not, equivalent to a Grizzlich. But I don't. To me, Pete his skating was good enough to play at the National Hockey League if it did break down, over the course of the season. We haven't seen him for a whole season, right? It's what, a month or 3 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks. So that's to be determined if he were to stick around. But it was more about his habits with the puck to make sure he stayed consistent, contributing every night. I think he's been hot when he first got here. There's been a drop off, so we'd like to see just a consistent element out of him. And some of that's opportunity too. We got to keep him here longer, but it's getting tougher and tougher with the growth of our younger guys on the wing, like the Hines and the DeBrusks. So it's a challenge for Pete, but we like the way he plays, but it's too early to say whether he's over that hurdle.
I've talked about your D's getting more involved 5-on-5 in the offense. Does that mean you're going to look low to high? I know that hasn't really been part of it.
Well, I think teams started closing off more of the low stuff against us, so we, by default, unless you're, jamming it in there and really stubborn, then you think you have to do that. So how are we going to generate offense from there and stretch them out so the puck ends up back in our forward's hand? We just feel that, they're our best threats. That's kind of why we wanted to play low most of the time. So yeah, that'll probably happen. I think in the second half of last year, we have some analytics to back it up. Flew out that we were better from the offensive blue line standpoint. How they measure exactly, that's always open to debate, but we were a better team offensively, better movement along the ozone blue line the second half of the year, so we can build off some of that. Guys getting more confident. You see Grizz, he dances around a lot more up there. That's confidence. Clifton will be the same early on, hopefully. Krug's always fine at it. Z's going to bomb his shot, but it's Charlie, you see now, probably more confident joining the rush. We've asked him to push his offensive game a little bit. So, Brandon was a little hit or miss, hot or cold there. We'd like to see him he's got a good shot, advanced there too. So, yes, we probably will see a little more of it if they close us off down low. If not, then hopefully we can attack from using the back of the net, changing sides where the Bergeron line is naturally in sync, and some of the guys that now maybe played together a little bit, build some chemistry, they can develop some of that.
I talked to Don yesterday about a question about the arc and growth of Carlo's game. He sort of divided off to two areas. One about just being sort of more of a presence and a voice, and also about trying to develop his offense. He just talked about. Can you talk about those two things?
Well, he's always been rock solid, shutting down. As a shutdown guy, now he's growing to be more of a man. So that part of being a voice, I think, will come more naturally for him, in the room and on the ice. The offensive part of the game, we're working on it with him, and for him, it's some guys are just going to, grasp it quicker and do it. And Grizz and Charlie are guys probably because they did it younger at college. And they came in younger, didn't take him as long to be assertive. I don't know if Brandon, I could be speaking out of turn here, was asked to do a lot of that before. So now it's a little bit longer process for Brandon. And he doesn't get past some of the hiccups. If there's a fumbled puck or something, he's more reticent to do it right away. Whereas I think the other two are a little more game right away. So we got to get Brandon over that hurdle. Part of it is on the coaching staff. Because we're always going to put him out there. He's always going to play for us. His minutes have never really suffered here. And then part of it's on the player to put it behind him. So, we're going to keep working on it, and hopefully he's over that.
He has the legs.
He definitely has the legs. His hands aren't as quick as Grizz and Charlie. Instincts, I think they're all developing, all three of them. Charlie's probably ahead of it's pretty good there at sorting through stuff and, staying in the moment or not letting the moment bother him. And that's where Brandon's instincts, we'll keep working on, maybe aren't quite as advanced as Charlie's right now.
Good. Thanks, everyone.